Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and we are here today with the first individual for our notable names in Hispanic and Latin American history. Today, we are looking at Cesar Chavez. And yeah, he is one of the leaders in the national labor movement, especially when it came to farm workers. He was born in Arizona to a Mexican American family, grew up around people he later helped through his activism, with the defining moment in his life when his family moved to California during the Great Depression to become farm workers. And that's what kind of lights the fire for his fighting for the right of farmers' rights. After receiving an honorable discharge from the Navy, he worked as a lumber handler in San Jose, California, where he helped to set up a chapter of the Community Service Organization, a pivotal civil rights organization for Latinos in California. He made the CSO his full-time job after he was laid off, meeting fellow activist Dolores Huerta while traveling to chapters around the state of California. They both went on to found the National Farm Workers Association and later the United Farm Workers Labor Union, becoming major members in for Latin American civil rights. He would later receive criticism from within for his singular control of the Union, including times of which he fired those who opposed him. He's still regarded as an important civil rights leader and posthumously received the Presidential Medal of Freedom the year after his death in 1993 when he was 66. So yeah, Cesar Chavez. That was from biography. We also have from Smithsonian Institute. He was born March the 31st, 1927. He was encouraged by victories of the black civil rights movement that was also going on. He began in the early 60s to protest the unfair treatment of farm workers in California and the Southwest. In 1962, he and Dolores Huerta founded the National Farm Workers Association. 3 years later, their mainly Mexican and Mexican American union joined the Filipino-based Agricultural Farm Workers Organizing Committee in a strike of grape-field workers in Delano. Now, I want y'all to remember, Filipino, I can't remember the guy's name, but I talked about him as being one of the major players in labor unions and farm rights, farm workers' rights. I'm wanting to say his name was Luis. I can't remember the last name. But yeah, it's in my playlist for Asian American and Pacific Islander notable names in American history. Anyway, soon both unions merged under the United Farm Workers of America, the first effective national organization to represent agricultural workers and press for political reform. The farm workers sustained the strike for 5 years and also engaged many sympathetic Americans in their struggle. La Causa, the cause, through a consumer boycott of table grapes. Time magazine published the portrait we see right here in as its cover image in 1969. 4 years later, into the strike and boycott, an Aztec eagle, the symbol of the United Farm Workers of America, is emblazoned on Chavez's shirt, as you can see with the little patch. In 1978, Time magazine donated approximately 800 works of original cover art to National Portrait Gallery. The museum is dedicated to telling the story of individuals who have shaped the U.S. and Time magazine's collection, featuring prominent international figures and events. That's dealing more with Time magazine, but yeah. Anyway, that's what the Smithsonian Institute has to say about Cesar Chavez. Let's look at Britannica. Like we said, born March 31st, 1927 in Yuma, Arizona. Organizer of migrant American farm workers and co-founder with Dolores Huerta of the National Farm Workers Association. He himself was a farm laborer, grew up in a family of Mexican-American ancestry, and after his parents lost their farm during the Great Depression, remember, Great Depression was in the 30s. A lot of people tie it to the great stock market crash of 29. That was only one thing. There was multiple things going on that led to the Great Depression. But yeah, that's one of the big things they try to tie all the time. Stock market crash. That wasn't the only thing that happened. There were multiple things. But the family would move to California, where they became migrant workers. He lived in a succession of migrant camps and attended school sporadically. After 2 years in the U.S. Navy during World War II, we talked about his honorable discharge. He returned to migrant farm work in Arizona and California. His initial training as an organizer was provided by the Community Services Organization in California, a creation of Saul Alinsky's Industrial Areas Foundation. Saul Alinsky, another big name in labor, so in 1958, Chavez became general director of the CSO, but resigned 4 years later to co-found the National Farm Workers of America. In September 65, he began leading what became a 5-year strike. This is a huge moment in labor, the grape strike, California grape strike. But yeah. And he also led a nationwide boycott on California grapes. So it's not only they're striking to pick the grapes, they're having people boycott the grapes. So it's hitting it from both sides. And it attracted liberal support from throughout the country. Subsequent battles with lettuce growers, table grape growers, and other agribusinesses generally ended with the signing of bargaining agreements. In 1966, the NFWA merged with the AFL-CIO, American Federation of Labor, Congress of Industrial Organizations, group to form the United Farm Workers Organizing Committee. In 71, they became the United Farm Workers of America, the UFW. In the late 60s, the Teamsters Union recognized an opportunity in Chavez's success and entered the fields as a rival organizer, signing up farm workers for its own union. In 72, Chavez sought assistance from the AFL-CIO, which offered to help against the inroads being made by the Teamsters. You should work to help everybody, not just your own labor organization. It should be you're a fellow worker in brotherhood. You're a fellow human being, fellow American, and we want to help you. There should be no butting heads or pushback against each other. That's not how labor and labor unions should work. But of course, Teamsters Union, especially in this era, because I think it was in the era of Jimmy Hoffa, a lot of corruption. Anyway, let's see. In 72, Chavez sought assistance from the AFL-CIO, which offered to help against the inroads being made by the Teamsters. After much conflict, both in the fields and in the courts, the United Farm Workers signed a peace pact with the Teamsters in 77, giving the United Farm Workers sole right to organize farm workers and field workers. See, instead of trying to go in and say, hey, we can do good here too. No. Back your fellow worker. Back your fellow man. Instead of trying to be an asshole and say, hey, we can take over. No. In recognition of his nonviolent activism and support of working people, Chavez was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously in 1994. His wife, Helen, accepted the award. But yeah, Cesar Chavez. Let's see what Wikipedia can add that we haven't already come across. Died April 23rd, 1993 in San Luis, Arizona. So he's very much tied to California, Arizona. They actually have him buried at a national monument for him, the Cesar Chavez National Monument. Had 8 children. Like we said, received the Presidential Medal of Freedom after his death. Was a member of the U.S. Navy. They probably have listed here it's killing me because I can't remember the name of the people he worked with, because they butted heads sometimes when they were trying to fight for farm workers' rights. Oh goodness, who were they? Like I said, I think the one guy is like Luis. Where is that? The table grape strike. Because it was during that point. Yeah, there's the grape strike. 65, September, Filipino-American farm workers organized by the Agricultural Workers Organizing Committee initiated the farm strike. Chavez and his largely Mexican-American supporters voted to support them. And maybe it, Luis Valdez. I'm not sure on that though. Idalong was one of the Filipino workers, or heads of the strike movement during that point. But there's another one I'm trying to think of. I'm not seeing evidence of it. There's Luis Valdez. American. That's not who I'm looking for. I'm looking for... what is his name? It kills me because my memory is not what it used to be. I used to be able to bam, bam, bam. Part of getting old. That cognitive agility starts to go. Oh, wait, let me try it again. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, Cesar Chavez, big name in the labor movement. Like any person, had disagreements because we mentioned how some people kind of said he was a little too tyrannical with the way he held power sometimes. But it's always that he wanted to do right. It's just he had problems with others who disagreed with how it should be done. But yeah, Cesar Chavez. Remember, if you want to look at people who have helped pave the way for the regular worker. There's a picture of him in 79. We said he died in what, 93? Yeah, so. Cesar Chavez. But we'll go ahead and end this episode there. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting links and sources in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.